to the Wake movement. I am your boy. This is from my Celtic heritage, a knot emblem, perhaps resembling the Ouroboros. But I see two snakes here. St. Patrick chasing out the snakes was a horrible thing for Ireland. And they would have us turn and be ashamed of our own cultures and call our hate symbols call our ancestor heritage cultural symbols hate. Hate speech is behind it. What is Wake movement? Also, that looks a little sexual. It's a sigil of Saturn. They use it against us, the star of Remfram. You want to tap into Saturn energy to structure St. Joseph, the architect, the carpenter, the grand architect, the seventh letter G of the alphabet, going to the seventh furthest heavenly luminary in charge of the seventh heaven, Saturn. Wake movement is waking people up to the symbological, metaphorical, allegorical meanings of these religions, getting us out of a literal historical interpretation of these religious narratives, creation myths. What it's done, it leads to holding out one person, one people as raised above another, and it endorses supremacy. And it's just false. It's propaganda used to subjugate, mostly, is what the Abraham religion has done to the West. It has conquered it theologically through Christianity and Islam, and pitted them against each other. The Wake movement is here to wake people up out of this religious cult zombie land, wishing in a 2,000-year-old QAnon psyop, a 2,000-year-old breadcrumb line, waiting for a savior to come out of the clouds, looking forward to the next world to come, neglecting our existence and sovereignty in this world right here, not offering up that some are chosen, some are saved, some are awakened to this illuminated. That's what Freemasonry does. And so it sets up somebody up. Oh, look, well, we've given you this information, so now you're raised up above these other people who are in the dark, or walking zombies, the walking sleepers. And now you've been given this, and you're special, and you're chosen, and you're in this group because you've got the secret knowledge, Gnosis, G, the seventh letter of the alphabet of the Grand Masons. They have kept alive lots of this esoteric meaning, these hermetic teachings, going back to the different mystery schools of Mithras in Alexandria, Egypt, Osiris, Horus, many different dying and rising gods that were used as metaphorical figures of dying and rising, dying to an old self, being born unto a higher self. That spans throughout all the world religions. I'm taking what I have, which is a degree, which means nothing, in religious studies, a bachelor's, and a master's in theology from a Catholic university, which also means nothing. I suck at writing, but I do research a lot. And I know these QAnon people like, oh, research. Yeah, bro, research. The very people that you think are getting exposed are the people who came up with the thing, the deep state. The deep state Michael Aquino types, Church of Set. So there's lots of groups have taken this secret knowledge, formed it around the Freemasonic line of ritual cosmology, which is beautiful. In some ways, they preserved the Pythagorean teachings of sacred geometry and numerology, and so has the Jewish tradition. But you could also make an assertion, propose a thesis that Masonry was created by Judaism, for it's in the very title of their name, the Masons of the builders of Solomon Temple, going back to the Templars, going back to the more that we bring in, we've wakened up consciously with this influx of information sharing thanks to the internet and technological evolution, that we have been able to decipher, pull apart these mysteries without having to join some secret society and doing some type of breaking of a taboo, weird shit. Wake and not woke. Wokeism, the right is right to condemn that. At first, being woke was being woke to this system that is oppressing us. The Occupy Wall Street 1% was a reflection of that. Like, hey, we're waking up to this 1% that these bankers that run everything. There's an awakening, and that what they teach us is what they want to teach us. And that perhaps what our government does isn't always for our best interest. And taking a historically critical approach to everything we do, history, foreign relationships, policy creation, we see that oftentimes governments have done what was in fact not at the best for the majority of the population, because they're seeking to maintain or create, grow more power and control. These elites, when they have so much money, they don't get high off of just money anymore. It's money for means to more control, which is an assertion, an action of power. And they're on it like a drug. To think that somehow QAnon is exposing, coming up with the idea that there's a bunch of pedophiles in Hollywood in the elite circles. Has this Jeffrey Epstein thing not taught us that? Yes. And is it a coincidence that this whole thing came out during the breaking of the Epstein case to a higher profile and a larger audience? I don't think that's a coincidence. If you took the time, looked into it for a second, you would realize that this was an Israeli Mossad operation in cahoots with the CIA, who are pretty much the same thing. You will come to the conclusion when you look into this nation formed not so in the distant past has come about through some nefarious means, mostly through the work of terror. There is this one case in point where there was a group of people who returned, quote unquote, returned from the diaspora, who went to Israel, returned. Who knows what, because God gave them a piece of land there before? I don't know. But they didn't like it there. They were getting along better wherever they were before. They didn't like living in a desert. They said, no, thank you. Boarded a ship. The ship was blown up. They were willing to bomb hundreds of their own people to keep them from leaving. The Havar Agreement was an agreement between Israel and Nazi Germany that was put in place to help the Judean people return to Israel, Palestine, to create Israel. See how the Masonics and the Templars are about rebuilding the Temple of Solomon, their temple, which they think is an actual physical, literal thing that needs to happen in Israel so that the world comes forth from Jerusalem. And this is a new world order, and this is the new world religion. The new one world religion isn't New Ageism. What it is, it's Abrahamism, and them having Christians and Muslims under their thumb, under the rule of the Noahide laws. And the number one rule of the Noahide law is to worship God and have no idols. Well, this God that they're talking about is their God, and hence them. They are God manifest on earth. They are better than us. When they talk about the Gentile, the Goyim, the nations in the Hebrew scriptures, it's not so fond. Neither is it in the New Testament, the Christian scriptures, where it talks about can even get a can't even get a scrap off the table, even if the dogs do. No, you're less than a dog. You're a cattle bull to work the field. You are, out of the two twins, not Jacob who turned into Israel. You are Esau, who got turned into Edom, who is the firstborn, who through cunning and deception, the secondborn, in this case Jacob Israel, steals the birthright through trickery and deception from his dying blind father by dressing up like his firstborn son to steal the blessing. The story of Joseph in Egypt, a foreign person coming into the pharaonic Egyptian dynasty, overtaking it for his own people and crushing it. The story of Moses and the Exodus is total fictional, mostly based on astral myth and nation founding myth. The only history that matches up to it is the Hyksos, who were people from the Mediterranean who took over the Egyptian pharaonic line for a little bit before they got kicked out. It wasn't so much Pharaoh let my people go. Pharaoh was like, get the hell out of here. Moses being found in the reeds, harkening back to Osiris, floating down the Nile. Being wrapped in swaddling clothes, like the infant baby Jesus, all 8 pounds, 6 ounces of him. Just like how Jupiter, Zeus, was wrapped in swaddling. No, rather, to replace him, a rock was put. And he was eaten and spit out. That has to do with tricking God into a sacrifice to him, which is what the Yom Kippur scapegoat ritual with the 2 goats is. One's to appease Satan by tricking him, Azazel. I just think that it's like so fucked up. The whole scapegoat Yom Kippur Passover ritual that's reenacted in the Christian Eucharist through its communion, which happens thousands of times daily throughout the world, is a blood atonement sacrificial scapegoat ritual for the chosen people of Israel to put it on the Goyim, dumping their sins onto another person, another people, that they might suffer the consequences of their bad actions and not them. And that same theology, that same atonement, soteriology, how one's saved, is carried on through the tradition of Christianity. Now, Islam carries on the tradition of Jesus being an actual historical person who was not actually God, because they maintain monotheism in their eyes more, because they don't go for the Trinity, and which is the Trinity, and is a reason why Christianity isn't fully Noah compliant yet, which is why they'll have to ultimately deny their Christ. Or just say he was a good rabbi, a prophet. But if you were to say that he is God, then that is incompatible to the Jewish theology because of his strict monotheism, which is false. There's El, there's Yahweh. There's El, who is Saturn, Kronos. There's his son, who is Jove, Yahweh, Jupiter. Saint Joseph is Saturn, his son, Jupiter, Jesus. Jupiter is often an amalgamation of the sun, because the sun battles Saturn. Saturn, the dark father, Dark Vader. The sun, the light, Lux in the sky, high, Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader. The sun versus Saturn. That's the opposition. That's the adversary. When the sun goes into Aquarius, Saturn is home there in the seventh heaven, the seventh day of the week, the Sabbath, the Sabbath of El Shaddai, Saturn. El, of the Elohim, the head of the council of the creators of us. The planets are the gods. The God of the Bible is a tribalistic God of these people, thunder god out of Babylon in the Mesopotamia area with the Canaanites. They're a group that came out of that were more nomadic, less willing to assimilate. So which is why lots of the holidays, the months and stuff are just Babylonian god names like Tammuz and which is the Chaldeans, the Babylonians, or maybe the first to come up with astrology, or at least their astrology and their painting of figures upon the sky lasted till today through tropical modern astrology, which came through Greek, passed through by the Romans, and before Greece, the Greeks got a lot of theirs from Alexandria, Egypt, and then from the eastern side from the Indo-Europeans, the Indo-Iranians, tracing in linguistics. That seems to be where things, that language which survives in Sanskrit in its most original form is that Proto-Indo-European language, or Proto-Indo-Iranian. So they might come out with an out of Africa theory, but not intellectually. Perhaps one source of us physically, but there's a theory that there's 7 races that came from different places. That rhymes. Look at all this. Gosh, my camera facing me on this. This is a brand new iPad. There's no front facing light. Whatever. It's whatever. Oh my god. Oh, we got filters. Gefilte fishes. Ooh, this one is ominous. Let's go with it. Anyone in the chat? Nope, just little old Liam. And the stream. So did we talk about why? To wake us up out of the idea that these religions are literal and historical, especially the Western tradition. And then to wake us up to see how that ideology is still at work now, especially our support for Israel because it's this chosen land that Jesus came out of. When we realize that's all fictitious and false, then what happens to our foreign policy and our unwavering support for this nation? What happens to the Catholic Christian religion when they realize that this person, Jesus, never historically existed? That's a big wake up. And when we see that this narration has suppressed and oppressed white people and black people alike. Even unwitting Hebrewites, which is a term used loosely, have been used and sacrificed at the altar to this God Yahweh, because he really appreciates the fumes of these sacrifices. Why? Imagine a world that knew that the characters of the Bible, Abraham, Moses, Jacob, Isaac, Ishmael, Esau, Jacob, never existed. Jesus, Mary. And then, well, hopefully that will lead to a more peaceful world. We're not fighting over a piece of land because God gave it to us. We get rid of religious and racial superiority, realizing that we reclaim our ancestral traditions that didn't get wiped out, be proud of them, celebrate them, resurrect them, while appreciating others equally, appreciating the differences of them and their uniqueness, beautifully expressing love and truth to the best that we could come to, and beauty, that which helps us in this journey, not harming us, uniting on meaningful levels, not looking to take somebody else, getting out of a tribalistic mindset, not being forcefully amalgamated and put in a melting pot where all your unique attributes and contributions and specifications and historical, ethnic, culture, artistic interpretations and cosmologies and histories get wiped out in the process, but are coming together on an equal stage, not looking to convert somebody else, not against somebody coming in and participating with you, being open, radically inclusive, non-supremic, and also coming to the fact that there has been white people, specifically white males, who have a target on their head. Any supremacy is bad, including black supremacy, including religious supremacy, including supremacy of those who we dare not name or speak of, the elite. The WAKE movement should have a hippie vibe to it. Love and peace and harmony. But a brazen and bold and courageous one that's willing to call shit out. We respect different cultures, we respect different beliefs, but when there's a belief in a culture, in a religion, that holds up the notion, the teaching, the dogma that they are chosen and another aren't, and they are chosen to rule over another or to wipe them out, then we have to stand up and speak out in defense of we. And to hopefully through education, through fruitful interdisciplinary dialogue, studies, we can discuss this without name calling, without conjecture, and without deception. The WAKE movement is that it's more humanitarian, it's more political, it's more activism, it's more journalism than my other project, which is more spiritual, the answer. So that's the thing that happens. Okay, well, what do we do now that we figured out that these religions are allegorical, metaphorical, and then propped up and propagandized to control the common person who's ignorant of the esoteric hidden meanings? Well, in my other project, I recognize that religion is going to be here for probably as long as this planet. The word religion is a hard thing to agree upon, but in its common parlance, we see that there is religion. What does it offer us? That's good. An opportunity to commune. Can we commune on other levels? Yeah, sports and whatnot. But this gives us an opportunity to commune, hopefully on a more meaningful, deeper level that's pointed towards the common good, that promotes beauty, truth, harmony, justice, humanitarianism. Does sports do that? No. Musical concert? Yeah, but we're looking for something more concrete without being dogmatic. It's the non-religion religion, the anti-church church. It's spiritual organization without being an organized religion, whilst using religion as a tool to break us out of religion and getting us out of cult mentality and pleading for faith in your fellow man, hope in yourself, thankfulness, because it seems to have a better attitude than a nihilistic fucking ungrateful one, which is deep in itself. All right, so we're just about to reach the 30-minute mark. I think that's a good time to shut us out. WakeMVMT.org is where I will be building more. And my logo is awesome. And I'm ready to start doing this so that I could still doing something. Okay, you don't vibe with the spirituality of my other thing, fine. But we can meet here on without that as a thing. I think personally, there's some things about the church experience, religion, that I do appreciate, like the solemnity, the ceremony, I like to keep the music, the art, just because culturally I come out of that, and so there's meaning I see in it that esoterically can be brought out, and then throwing away the trash, the garbage of this literality which has been propagandized harmfully against us. Signing out.